everything is going well, but can you still believe in me when your life's a living hell? And when all the things around you seem to quickly fade away, there's just one thing I really want to know. Will you let go?
I trust you, Lord.
Will you stand on my word?
I trust you, Lord.
Against all odds, will you believe what I have said?
I trust you, Lord.
What seems impossible,
I trust you, Lord.
will you believe?
I trust you, Lord.
Every promise that I've made, will you receive, my child? I know how bad it hurt you when that loved one's life came to an end, and when they had to leave you, you thought you'd never love again. Oh my, but will you trust that I can help you? And I'll never turn away, turn away. Will you trust me, child, no matter come what may? What if it hurts? What if it hurts? What if you cry? Oh my. What if it doesn't work the first time that you try? Oh my. What if you call my name and don't feel me near? Will you still believe in me, or will you fear? Oh my child, I will. Where else can I go? Who else can I turn to? Every believer join in and sing, I will trust you. I will trust you. No matter how hard the road may seem, every step I take I will. In my troubled times I will. In my sadness, God, I will trust you. In all of my hurt, I will. Every day, every day, every day, I will trust. I will trust you. I will trust you. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. In Give you everything, God. Every day, I'll trust you, Lord.
I'm so excited for the new school year, to be able to connect with my students again, to be able to just teach and create some semblance of normalcy. This new school year may bring difficulties and some challenges, but through God, perseverance, a passion for teaching, and love for our students, it will be a success.
What I learned this year is to never take anything for granted and never miss out on opportunities that are given to you. What motivates me are my students. Seeing my students succeed is all the motivation that I need. And what I hope for this new school year is that no child is left behind due to the lack of technology.
You and I had no choice when we born or when we die. What we can choose, however, is what we do during this time. So, be empowered, excel, love, give, and forgive. Yes, it is truly uncertain times, but let this be the most exciting, excelling school year ever. Be a light of hope to one. Remember, Jesus is still the answer. Amen.
What I've learned during this COVID experience is that every day it's a learning experience. There's always something new you can learn. By the end of this school year, I would really enjoy teaching face-to-face with my geo students. I really miss them, and they are the ones that motivate me to keep on trying. You know, I want them to be successful and to attain more than I did in the field of education. Whatever they want to be, I hope that they can, accomplish their dreams. And if I am one of those who can encourage them, then that's what I hope for.
One of my influences at this time is Bruce Lee. In one of his quotes, he said, "We must empty our mind and be formless and shapeless like water." This quote simply means that we must be able to adapt to any and every situation. During this period of crisis, I've learned to put God first and also how to adapt to new situations the world throws at us. My hope for this school year is for everything to feel normal, whether we are at home working online or in a regular class setting. I hope that we are still able to gather the knowledge we need for our future. My motivation comes from just wanting the best for me and my family. My family is the reason why I keep striving for the best.
One thing that I've learned during this period is definitely to be grateful for family and friends and for gatherings. My third question from the wise old owl is, what is my hope for this school year? My hope for this school year is that everybody is on board for the change that COVID-19 has brought. And the fourth question from the wise old owl is, what motivates me? What motivates me is my passion for education and young people, and the fact that I get to empower and educate young people for generations to come.
Two persons that have been positive influences to me during the initial pandemic are Mrs. Kalutha Laramore and Mrs. Gloria Gardner. During the pandemic, I actually learned how to create educational videos that have been used for the Ministry of Education virtual learning platform. My motivation is signing into Zoom and seeing the sparkle in my students' eyes. Because I know that they miss school so much, they motivate me each time they log in and want to know more about how this virtual school is going to work. My hope for the new year is that teachers, parents, and students themselves will join together and ensure that everyone receives a good education and that all students are accommodated during this time.
Striving to be a better person than I was yesterday is what motivates me. As we get ready to start this new school year, it is my hope for more collaboration, more engagement and participation from all stakeholders as I strive to achieve my mandate.
What motivates me as an educator simply is just an innate desire and passion that I have truly. Teaching isn't something that I just said, hey, this is something I love to do. I love children. Yes, that's a part of it, but mainly I sought God. When it was time to go to school, I said, God, please, what it is that you would have for me to do. What is the right direction for that you would have for me to go in. And it was clear as day that education was that path that I should take.
I am influenced by my belief in Christianity, my parents, and a few selected mentors of mine. During this period, I've learned that time awaits no man, that life goes on, and peace of mind is important. My hopes for the school year is that I exceed in all of my classes, but equally important, that I enjoy my last few moments of high school. I am motivated by my parents and teachers to be of value to the world in whatever condition it may be in. By my sister to be the voice for those who aren't able to speak for themselves. But mostly by racism, poverty, and anti-feminists to be the change in the world no one expects me to be.
One of the teachers that had a positive impact on my life is my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Evans. She was always so loving and accepting, and I'll always remember her for that. One of the things that I've learned from COVID-19 is to be flexible in your thinking, because when you have a lot of students who are in different places and experiencing different circumstances, you have to ensure that you have to attempt to reach each and every one of them and ensure that each one of them continue to learn and continue to be taught.
Something I have learned through this whole COVID pandemic is just how much I rely on being able to read my students' body language, seeing when I push them too far or when I can push them just a little bit further. And a hope I have for this school year is that I'll be able to see my students still grow, because there are going to be so many barriers and changes put in place in the classroom. Things that it will be different, and I still want them to be able to have a strong learning experience, because that is also something that motivates me in the classroom, being able to watch my students grow.
I am influenced daily by the Word of God, the encouragement of my husband, the smiles of my children, by my relatives, my colleagues, and my students. I've learned during this period that life has many uncertainties, but it is our attitude that determines the outcome of our situation. My hope for this school year is that we put the spirit of complaining and opposition on the back burner, and that we come together and work for the common good of our country. I am motivated daily by the things of God, by my family, by my colleagues, and the students I've been entrusted to teach. And so my hope is that together we continue to build and strengthen the things that remain.
My immediate family members are what influences me. With the world on pause, I have learned that you cannot take anything in life for granted. In spite of the challenges, I hope that we have a productive and fruitful school year. Attending to the social and emotional realities of the students is what motivates me. Remember, be somebody who makes everybody feel like a somebody.
When I set goals for my students and they achieve them, I am motivated. During these unprecedented times, I've learned that you must be adaptable and maintain a positive and optimistic attitude. It is my hope that all stakeholders in this academic ecosystem have a productive and safe academic year. Remember, safety first, education always.
What motivates me most is when my students hit their goals. No matter how big or small, I love celebrating with them. One thing that I've learned during this period is that life is so unpredictable, and you could never truly be prepared for everything. But you know what? Your attitude makes the difference. My hope this school year is that we provide a safe and healthy learning and teaching environment both for our students and the staff. But you know what? Mostly, I hope that we all know that we are in this together. Have a great day.
A positive teaching role model in my life has been my mother and my grandmother, who have over 80 years of teaching experience. During this pandemic, I've come to realize that virtual learning is a whole lot easier and more engaging than we actually realized. My motivation for teaching is to see the progress made in each and every one of my students that I teach every year. And my hope for this year is to become a better teacher so that my students can become better students.
The proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child," is true, because I am influenced by so many persons. Firstly, my mother, who inspires me to be the best version of myself. My principal and teachers, who pushes excellence in all that I do. My church family, who gives me spiritual support, and my close supporters, who encourage me to be a thinker and a consistent worker. One thing I have learned is the importance of having balance in my life. That means maintaining a normal routine despite the global pandemic. My hope for this school year is to remain focused. Although we are dealing with COVID-19, I will not allow it to overwhelm me or dampen my spirits in any way. What motivates me is excellence. If I stamp my work with excellence, then I will be able to fulfill my future aspiration of becoming a successful certified public accountant.
My main influence has always been my family, and what motivates me most is my hope for the future and who I'm going to grow to be with God guiding me. My hope for the coming year is that within the new virtual environment, no student is left behind and each is afforded adequate learning opportunities. That being said, what the past months have shown me is that there is so much strength in unity, and when people can put their differences aside and come together for the greater good, what can be accomplished is life-changing.
Some 20 years ago, I had the pleasure of completing my teaching practice with Miss Velty Petty. From the very beginning, she encouraged me to be the best that I can be in whatever it is that I do. And to this day, she is still my rock and my mentor. The thing that motivates me most is knowing that I can have a positive impact on the life of a child. For example, Tanai came to me at 4 years of age, and she knew that she wanted to be a pilot. And then she wanted to know whether or not she could be a pilot and a teacher. I told her that she could be whatever it is that she needed to be. And every year, she sends me her report card. And this year, she's beginning the 12th grade, so much closer to accomplishing her goal.
During the COVID-19 period, I learned that we have to adapt to new learning environments. Despite being out of the classroom, I was still able to engage my students via technology. Their continued excitement to participate in our daily lessons during these unprecedented times motivates me. Further, seeing a child enter my classroom not knowing basic skills and concepts to mastering concepts inspires me. My hope and expectation for the new school year is that students and parents will be engaged and take on the challenge of this virtual learning experience.
I have had so many wonderful teachers who have positively influenced me over the years, but the one that stands out is Miss Yvonne Nelson from St. Paul's Methodist College. She was tough, but she set a standard of excellence. May her soul rest in peace. During the initial COVID-19 period, I learned that life comes at you fast. We must be ready for change and to adapt very quickly. My students motivate me. I want them to be their best, so I have to give them the best of me each day. My hope for the new school year is to help students adapt and reach their goals, despite the difficulties we faced over the past year. We will remain hopeful. We will remain positive.
Most of the teachers during my school years have had a positive impact on me, but my aunt, who is a teacher, has inspired me to become a teacher as well. One thing I learned during this COVID-19 period, besides from social distancing, is that God is in control. What motivates me? God and the little ones that I teach each day. My hope for the new school year is that everyone in the school system remains healthy, safe, and do well.
One thing that I learned during the initial COVID-19 period is that as teachers, we always must be prepared to go the extra mile. The number one thing that motivates me to teach is the children. My favorite part of teaching is watching them have their little light bulb moments and just having fun with learning. My hopes and dreams for the new school year are to just get back into the classroom and bring joy and fun and happiness to learning for the children, especially after a year like this one.
I would say all of my colleagues are positive influences on me because they are some of the most hardworking and dedicated teachers I know. My greatest motivators are my two lovely daughters, Tiana and Taylor Lee. One thing I would say that COVID-19 has taught me is how uncertain life is. And one thing I would hope for entering this new virtual school year is that teaching and student learning takes place.
A teacher who made a positive impact on my life would be the late Mistress Veronica Henderson. She was my mentor and a woman of excellence. Whenever she gave me feedback, it always made me feel more confident. To this day, I take her advice with me and will continue to throughout my career. Something I learned from the onset of COVID-19 was the importance of being able to adapt. Once you are able to adapt, it alleviates the stresses in moving forward, and you are able to assist others as well.
One thing that I learned during this COVID-19 pandemic is that the world around us is ever changing and we must be able to adapt fast. My motivation is my affirmation: learning never stops. One thing that I hope for this upcoming 2020-2021 school year is for students, parents, teachers, administration, and staff to continue to abide by our social distancing policies and procedures to not only ensure a quality education, but a healthy learning environment for all students throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
A teacher that's impacted my life would be my college professor, Brenda Bain, who gave me a love for special education. COVID-19 has taught me to value the importance of human interaction and connections, and it has also reminded me that life can change very quickly. I'm motivated by the fact that what I do today in my classroom affects the future, and that's something that I feel very proud of. For this new school year, I am optimistic that we'll be able to embrace the new challenges that we would face in the virtual environment, as well as the face-to-face interactions dealing with what we know to be the new norm, COVID-19.
The greatest lesson learned was to persevere. My students' success motivated me to keep on going, finishing strong at any cost. Calling parents continuously, trying numerous virtual platforms, creating digital resources and assignments, encouraging students, parents, and colleagues.
During the initial stages of this COVID-19 pandemic, I have learned that determination, daily prayers, and love is what is really needed. Seeing my students make progress on a daily basis, mastering the many challenges that they face, solving problems, are some of the very, very exciting things in this profession that keeps me going.
What motivates me to teach is when students can retain the information, skills, and concepts taught in classroom or outside of the classroom. They can return to their homes, their communities, and to share what they have learned. Return the following day excited and wanting to learn more. My hopes and my dreams for the staff and administration, parents, and students of this coming year is that every student and administration have access to technology and that technology devices can be provided. Also, parent involvement is very important, and I pray that parents continue to be involved in their children's learning.
Now, I've been blessed to have been taught by so many great educators, but the one who really stood out to me was my third grade teacher, Mrs. Warren. She made me a lover of reading, learning, and really made me say, hey, you need to tap into this profession. During this pandemic, I've learned so many things, but the first thing is that we should not take social interaction for granted. I miss my peers, my students, my family, everyone. And another thing is that as young as I am, I realized that technology was something that I was a little bit afraid of. And it challenged me to be able to tap into it so that I can better reach my students.
During this period, I've learned that we must live life preparing for the future, or they'll come and we'll be unprepared. I hope for this semester that we can return to some form of normalcy, and I hope that I can make my family, my greatest motivators, very proud.
The educator that has been most influential in my life is Cynthia Ferguson. Not by what she did during that 9 to 3 period, but what she accomplished at 2 a.m. in the morning in one of the most remote islands like Crooked Island. She proved that educators too need to be like clay and adapt even in the most strenuous environments, and in our case, a struggling economy. I crave to have that same passion, and luckily, I found it in the same profession. COVID-19 has taught me that it's time to go back to the pottery wheel and become that clay. Even though the long-term consequences of this pandemic are still yet to be defined, I am committed to continue providing my students with quality education while staying connected and adapting to their needs in any circumstance.
What influenced me is my mother. She has taught me that I should always put Christ first in my life and continue to pray continuously. One thing I have learned during this time is that we should cherish family and friends and communicate more. My hope this school year is that we will return to some form of normality eventually. I'm motivated when I see students improve their grades and obtain or achieve their goals.
During this COVID-19 pandemic, we learn to follow the health guidelines set by the proper authorities. More importantly, we are reminded that we are our brother's keeper, and what we do affects those around us. I am a product of a preacher and a teacher, and I think I was just born to teach. Teaching is my superpower.
One teacher who has been a positive influence on me would be Ms. Valderine Penn. One thing I learned during the initial COVID-19 period is that we must be prepared and expect the unexpected. One thing that motivates me is when my students are actively engaged in the lesson and demonstrating that they fully grasp the concept being taught.
What I learned during the COVID-19 time was to always remain hopeful. You know, each day we're bombarded with news and images of death and sorrow and despair. But we mustn't lose motivation to carry on, to push through, and to overcome these obstacles. We can have a brilliant future. The road ahead may be unfamiliar and challenging, but I believe that our ultimate destination will be wondrous and bright.
Ms. Cyan Ramming is a teacher who had a positive influence as she was always striving to push us beyond our expectation. Thus, COVID-19 has taught me to reevaluate who and what is important to me. Therefore, my hopes and dream for the upcoming school year is to teach one so that each one will reach one.
My hope for the new school year is simply hope for the best. I hope to get through the virtual teaching. As we all know, the characteristics of a typical preschooler can be quite challenging. But with God's help, I will, and I must adapt to the new normal this school year. For I believe that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Entering this noble profession is what I knew I wanted to do from I was a child. As I watched Miss Bernita Thompson love, care, and go above and beyond for her students. She would always tell me, one day you're gonna make a great teacher. When I became a teacher, she was always there to encourage me to remain focused and give it my very best. I am motivated to teach because I know if it wasn't for great teachers, I wouldn't be who I am today. I am also motivated to teach when I think of children who are less fortunate and don't have the support they need at home.
3 teachers who have positively influenced me would be my first grade teacher, Ms. Leslie Newton, my 3rd and 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Lillian Mizik Walker, and my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Gia Walker. Now, this pandemic would have taught me the importance of staying motivated as an instructor, because there are going to be times when we lose our motivation. And with regards to what motivates me, my students are my greatest motivational factor, especially when they excel and do well. My hope for this school year is that we are not impacted by any hurricane whatsoever. All the best and all success this year, guys.
Good morning to all educators across our glorious nation. As the National Teacher of the Year, it is indeed my pleasure to welcome you all to our first virtual Teachers Conference. We are all a part of history in the making. Never before have we been able to gather teachers from Grand Bahama to Inagua in one space, even if it is virtual. At this time, I would like to recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Education, Mr. Jeffrey Lloyd, the Permanent Secretary, Ms. Lorene Umbrista, the Director of Education, Mr. Marcellus Taylor, members of the executive team, other Ministry of Education officials, school administrators, union presidents, and of course, our teachers. The theme for our conference is Embracing the New Reality with Resilience and Resourcefulness. Now, more than ever, we need to find ways to rise above our challenges and to think outside the box, because this is the start of a year like no other. Truth be told, we may not be able to control the series of unfortunate events that are now unfolding, but what we can control is our responses to them. Be assured, my fellow colleagues, that you are in the right place at the right time. This virtual space is where your spirits can be refreshed and your mind sharpened. Please stand for the national anthem that will be sung by Mr. Richard Cunningham and played by Mr. Marvin Sands. This will be followed by a short prayer and meditation by Reverend Angela Palacios.
My sisters and brothers, it is my joy to deliver this brief devotional, the opening ceremony of your virtual teachers conference. When I was a primary teacher, we often spoke to the children about education being an adventure in learning. Well, this year, the COVID-19 pandemic has made it an learning adventure for students, teachers, and parents. By the grace of God, you will work it out as you go along. Please join me, though, for a brief moment of prayer. Gracious God, I pray a blessing on your people. I pray, Lord, that we may indeed embrace the new reality with the resilience and resourcefulness that only you are able to provide as we need. Lord, anoint every heart and every home, every educational facility with your Holy Spirit, and bless our veteran and novice public school educators in a very special way, that they may lead by example and instruction. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I'd like for you to reflect on the following. Adversity that you have overcome in the past can be a real teacher. What did you think was more than you could bear, and yet you bore it? When you have more time, document your spiritual journey to date and see the resilience and resourcefulness that you possessed at that time and that you will continue to exhibit as you lead by example. Number 2, what do you fear most about the future? Ask God for the same strength that you had then, and ask for even more now as the uncertain days, weeks, months, and years begin to unfold before us. Just as you are preparing your students for a world you cannot imagine, remember that to some degree, this is how it always was. The arrow flies where the bow cannot go. When I did my postgraduate certificate in education in 1975, before many of you were born, they told us that we are to teach principles and values along with basic skills and subjects. They said that we cannot dream of the type of jobs that our children will be able to pursue, so we have to get them ready for whatever the future may hold. And of course, you know that the jobs now, many of them would have been unheard of and unimagined 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So now for point number 3, come back to the present. Do you feel like Alice in Wonderland and you've just fallen down a rabbit hole? Do you empathize with Dorothy on her yellow brick road adventures? There are days when you must wish to wake up from the nightmare, only to discover that this is not a dream, but very much your life in 2020. My brothers and sisters, it is time to fully embrace the serenity prayer which I have paraphrased, for you to accept with serenity what we cannot change at the moment, to pray for courage to know what you can change, and for strength to go out and change it, to exercise wisdom to know the difference between giving up early and taking initiative to find creative ways to respond. Necessity is still the mother of invention. So be creative, be enthusiastic, be hopeful so as to motivate your children to push past the obstacles and to raise the COVID bar high so that they will succeed in ways that we can not even begin to imagine. And so in conclusion then, remember that you are an amazing masterpiece in God's creation, that God will equip you to accomplish the unimaginable, Just as you ask your students to trust your love and care for them, I invite you to do the same. Learn, teach, celebrate. You have come to God's kingdom for such a time as this. Keep each other encouraged and speak a blessing over your children every day. Embrace this new reality with resilience, resourcefulness, prayer, and childlike wonder as your Heavenly Father introduces you to the amazing world that is unfolding before us. God bless you.
We have indeed been inspired by an outstanding rendition of our national anthem and challenged in our hearts by the uplifting of God's holy name by Reverend Palacios. Thank you so much. Our resilience lies in the strength of the ability of Bahamians to bounce back. As we recover from this difficult time, it is my hope that we prove to be stronger than we were before. The brothers and sisters on the islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama know something about bouncing back. We can certainly learn a lesson or two from them. Mr. Chester Cooper, an innovative principal from Grand Bahama, will now take us on a journey of what it truly means to rise above the storm. They had to overcome many hurdles after their island was hit by Hurricane Dorian, but they emerged stronger and more united than ever. This will be followed by a special welcome to our new teachers from Miss Belinda Wilson, President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers.
Hurricane Dorian wreaked destruction on the island of Grand Bahama. Many of our schools received extensive damages. Many of our staff members' homes were totally destroyed. But what was so admirable is that they came to work, putting aside their personal problems at home and focused on the education of our students.
In the classroom after Hurricane Dorian, initially was challenging mentally. I worked in the EOC as a first-time responder, and then after Hurricane Dorian, it left me with extensive damages to my home in West End, flooding. Some of the strategies that I used during the storm and after the storm with my students, I created a WhatsApp group that I could stay in touch with my students during the storm, just to follow up on how everything is going. And then after storm, with that break in between where we were unable to get immediately back into the classroom, I found activities and so forth that I sent to my students just to ensure that they were finding some sort of normalcy away from the school, but knowing that their teachers were still there for them.
I felt as if I was going to drown in all of the work that had been given to me. Yet, I told myself, Anastasia, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Dorian may have caused a lot of damage, but it helped me to appreciate my teachers more and to manage my time more effectively in class.
Personally for me, I got all students. I teach 123 students from 7 classes. And I got all of the emails because I started to send information, like for example, for the grade 11 and 12 that was doing the BGCSE, I sent home notes where they were able to read the notes, and I sent sample questions of BGCSE for them to answer. When they returned, we were able to share. Some students who didn't have email, they used WhatsApp. I WhatsApp the information for them, and they communicated with me via phone. They time sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting a response where students say, I'm up and I'm studying and I'm not too clear. So whenever I wake up and I see it, I would respond to them.
So after the passage of Dorian, keeping in mind the emotions and the stresses of both students and myself, we definitely came together with many strategies to help us cope as well as deal with everyday life. So for the emotional and supportive part of it, I attempted to make my classroom a very encouraging and a very positive environment for students coming in. The year's theme was Together We Can, just to show our students that you're not in this alone, we're all in this together, and together we can make it through.
Our improved results after term 1 show the resilience, dedication, and loyalty of our Blue Jay staff and students. We all emerge from this disaster Blue Jay strong.
A pleasant good morning to all.
New teachers, welcome to the profession of professions. As you embrace the new reality of entering the teaching profession, I have no doubt that you are resilient and resourceful, especially those of you from the University of the Bahamas who completed your studies in the midst of a global pandemic. As Charles Dickens wrote in A Tale of Two Cities, it was the best of times and the worst of times. So you can choose to see the beginning of your teaching career during the COVID-19 pandemic as a challenge or as an opportunity. You choose. I am Belinda Wilson, President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, and our executive team comprises 15 members, some of whom you will meet when you go to your various schools. But today, we encourage new and returning teachers to be cognizant of your responsibilities, to work hard, to remain focused, to be dedicated and committed to delivering quality education to our nation's children. Also remember, though, that you are an employee. And if you are an employee in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, you have rights. Some of your rights are the right to be heard, the right to work in a safe, healthy environment, the right to be treated fairly and equally, and of course, definitely, the right to join the Bahamas Union of Teachers. Again, on behalf of the Executive Committee, I am pleased to say that we are here to serve you and to represent you. So I say welcome to the profession of professions. Solidarity forever.
Because of COVID-19, in March this year, I, like many other teachers, dove headfirst into distance learning and managed to stay afloat. Here are the testimonies of a few teachers who embraced teaching virtually last school year and emerged victoriously.
The 2019-2020 school year has tested the resilience, commitment, and creativity of the teachers across the archipelago of the Bahamas. In March 2020, with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, teachers across the Bahamas were forced to deliver instruction virtually. Many teachers willingly agreed to assist with the creation of virtual lessons and digital resources, although for many of them, this was no easy task. However, these teachers bravely charted these unknown waters. It was truly a learning experience. Let us hear their stories.
Hello, I'm Gail Barrow Farrington, a 15-year educator at Sadie Curtis Primary. Initially, I was hesitant about providing virtual lessons because I had zero experience. Success came through networking, workshops, trial, and error. I'm now using PowerPoint, Powtoons, and videos for more engaging lessons. I encourage you to break out of your comfort zone and grow in your profession. You can do it.
My name is Keshna Campbell, and I am a first grade teacher at the Maurice E. Moore Primary School located on the island of Grand Bahama. During this unfortunate pandemic, teachers all over the world are faced with moving from normal circumstances of teaching to the current virtual learning. It was not easy for me at first. I had to watch lots of webinars, YouTube videos to educate myself for best practices. I am now currently participating in more webinars, educating myself daily as we are now in a new era of learning.
Hey there! Today, we're talking to Miss Alexis Mortimer, and she's going to tell us her experience with making IDU videos. Initially, I found IDU very confusing, but through research and planning using the curriculum, along with the help of the lower primary unit, I was able to overcome that. Now, I really enjoy teaching IDU. So teachers, we are all treading in unfamiliar waters. But I encourage you, turn your fairs into fun. It's much easier than it seems. You just have to make the first step. You got this.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Johnson, and I've been an educator for the past 12 years. And last year, I began my journey at the virtual school, an initiative that was new and exciting and amazing. But it was also overwhelming because we were learning so many new things and systems and softwares that we can use and implement in our lessons to make them more effective. One of the things I do regret is trying to make every lesson perfect. And that was unrealistic. I was trying to take the traditional and fuse it into the virtual when I should have been creating a world all my own. And despite all of the obstacles and challenges that we did have and face and overcame, I became a better educator. I had to learn a few lessons. I had to remember that preparation is so important, and consistency in the structure of your lesson is key for discipline. I had to make sure that every single one of my lessons were student-centered and interactive. At the end of the day, we have to believe in ourselves, and we have to overcome those fears, because I believe with God, virtually anything is possible.
If we all work as a team, I know we will be able to overcome the challenges of our new reality and use this opportunity to take our students to the next level. The Director of Education will now address us. This will be followed by a musical ensemble from our performing arts educators from around the Bahamas.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to welcome you to this event and to congratulate you on being a member of this noble profession. I extend a special welcome to you newly appointed teachers, and I certainly want to thank again all of you veterans who have so courageously responded to this global pandemic with which we are faced. The theme of this conference, Embracing the New Reality with Resilience and Resourcefulness, is timely. Indeed, COVID-19 has placed us at a critical juncture in education. This makes the role of teachers, your role, more critical than ever before. As a matter of fact, though some may not have recognized it, as educators, we are all essential workers. We are now faced with perhaps the most challenging times in education for our country post-independence. Yes, in fewer than 12 months, we have had to weather the devastation of Hurricane Dorian, which severely impacted our instructional delivery on Abaco and Grand Bahama. Without time to exhale, we found ourselves restructuring our institutions and reconfiguring our teaching lessons to successfully instruct in the midst of a global pandemic. Fortunately, because of your resilience and your resourcefulness, a highly commendable number of you pulled together and found ways to mitigate the COVID-19 crisis. So, even though COVID-19 has become a part of our new reality, today I am addressing you virtually. In the past months, and especially at the outset of this pandemic, you retooled. You heightened your training and on several and varied social media platforms, so that now you are more adept than perhaps even you ever could imagine in preparing lessons to provide virtual instruction. And for that, I congratulate you. To help facilitate this new way of teaching and to ensure that you have the tools necessary for successful teaching and learning in your virtual classrooms, the Department of Education has been offering a wide range of training sessions. Already, from the 14th of July to as recently as the 25th of August 2020, we have hosted more than 25 training sessions. These sessions engaged more than 3,500 education stakeholders. That is, more than 3,500 of you. Clearly, there has been a paradigm shift in how we approach teaching and the delivery of quality education to our students. Previously, you were focused on ways to improve your students' literacy and numeracy levels, and by extension, our country's graduation rate. And these foci remain crucial. Currently, however, our focus must now also be placed on the successful virtual delivery of quality education while, at the same time, maintaining healthy and safe environments for all education stakeholders. We wanted to ensure our educators are given the additional training to work and thrive in this new digitalization era, where following health and safety protocols is crucial. We believe that your input is key to helping the ministry develop a plan for effectively teaching virtually and the transition into the safe reopening of the face-to-face model of schooling. COVID-19 is still a dark cloud over our education system. Nonetheless, we plan to reopen schools using remote learning initially. Then, next steps will be a hybrid or blended form of opening. This will include the face-to-face mode and online learning on alternative days. Finally, we hope to be able to transition into a fully face-to-face model. This is a plan that is flexible, as the reopening of schools is dependent on the advice given by the competent health professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, flexibility and adaptability are vital characteristics to have in this season. COVID-19 has tested our ability to adjust to new ways of doing old things. Last year, I would have told our new teachers to tap into the wealth of experience from our senior educators. This year, while that advice remains relevant, I must also encourage our more senior educators to embrace the technological advances that our younger teachers may be more accustomed to using. There is much you both can learn from each other, and I encourage you to share information. During these sessions, you will be discussing best practices within the teaching profession. Appreciate your strengths and compliment your colleagues for the gifts that they bring to the table. Consider modeling their effective strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, the ministry has already placed the integration of technology in the teaching-learning process as one of its priority initiatives prior to the onset of COVID-19 and its resulting distance learning demands. Our progress in this area is key to us being able to provide instruction to our 160 schools spread over 25 islands and keys. As of June 2020, 75% of the infrastructure in government schools throughout the Bahamas have been upgraded to accommodate high-speed internet services. Additionally, our virtual school campus has been able to provide us with a valuable blueprint for the engagement of full-time online learning throughout the entire country. After Hurricane Dorian in March of this year, the virtual school became even more relevant as it became the go-to model for the best practices in online teaching. I am pleased that among the topics being covered today, you will discuss curriculum reform. Our decision to engage in ongoing reform of the curriculum is proving to be a beneficial move to track the pace of instructional delivery. We also now have in place a national pacing guide. Ladies and gentlemen, despite the changes brought about by COVID-19, let us remain committed to why we are here. While we observe all the health and safety protocols, let us also remain focused on continuing to increase our high school graduation rate among our school leavers. Every year, we are seeing incremental improvements, and now, as of June 2019, just under 60% of students met the requirements for achieving the Bahamas High School Diploma. Educators, I want to commend and applaud you for engaging the teaching profession during this most unprecedented time. Your contribution is allowing us to build a solid foundation to ensure our country's future stability and prosperity is secure. Without a doubt, you are helping us to provide a quality, inclusive education for all. Together, we are revolutionizing our education system. Together, we are taking the dark cloud of COVID-19 and presenting our stakeholders with a silver lining, indeed a rainbow. So, fellow colleagues, I extend my best wishes to you, and it is my desire that you will have a safe and successful 2020-2021 academic year. Thank you.
Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. And for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrows.
But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let go. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You can call on my brothers when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on.
I just might have a problem that you understand.
We all need somebody to lean on. load. If you just call me, you just call me. You just call me anytime all night. My brother, my sister, you just call me. I'll be there for you. I'll hold you strong. You just call me.
Wow, what a wonderful display of the talent that exists in the Bahamas. They have certainly made us proud today. During this time, we really need to lean on each other, but let's make sure it's virtually. P.S. Ambrister now comes to bring greetings and to introduce our dynamic Minister of Education, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd, who will address us and declare the conference officially opened.
Good morning. With protocol established, let me say what a pleasure it is for me to participate in this teachers' conference, one that is setting the bar high on new possibilities for the way forward. Though COVID-19 continues to impact daily life, its effect on education in particular continues to present challenges worldwide. By virtue of us meeting today, though not in one location nor face-to-face, exemplifies the fact that we have deemed this occasion to be tremendously important in assisting the Ministry of Education to achieve its mission of providing quality education for the children of the Bahamas. The role of teachers in this noble endeavor cannot be overstated. The record has shown that you teachers are among the best and brightest, and I am certain that among you, returning teachers, as well as the approximately 200 plus new teachers, resides the creative ingenuity to meet our educational objectives in this new reality created by the COVID-19 global pandemic. Globally, the pandemic has highlighted the important roles teachers play in the lives of children. The lockdowns resulted in school closures for months as parents were at home with their children. Many struggled to keep them engaged. Thankfully, via our virtual platform and also individually, many teachers took the time and went to the expense of reaching out to their students on social media platforms such as WhatsApp and Zoom. Teachers were indeed the lead actors in most of the ministry's efforts during these several months of challenge. We are indebted to teachers for their leadership in showing all of us what real dedication looks like. COVID is still with us, and your continued engagement is needed more now than ever. Despite the success of the ministry's virtual learning platform last semester, evidenced by the fact that more than 48,000 students registered, hundreds of children did not participate through no fault of their own. Many live in homes with no electricity, and others have no internet access or electronic device. These are some of the learning gaps that we must find a way to fill and ensure that there is equity in education so that no child is left behind. Your sessions will point the way forward on how we stakeholders hold firm to our educational mission despite the interruption caused by COVID-19. Included is the Ministry of Education's strategic plan for the reopening of schools. We know that we have chosen perhaps the most difficult model, the virtual learning for when schools open. However, we believe it is the most suitable and the safest way to continue the education process in this environment. Your role is key as we learn best practices of the three models of learning and instruction using technology while remaining safe and healthy. I wish that your deliberations throughout this conference result in positive outcomes as you collaborate to explore new strategies for instruction. And now, permit me to introduce to you the man who really needs no introduction, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd, Minister of Education, thank you and good morning, and I wish you all the very best in your deliberations.
My dear colleagues, good morning. I'm delighted to formally welcome you to the profession of professions, teaching, the organic verve of my own soul. Many years I've been an educator. For years, we teachers have been referred to as individuals who wear many hats as they morph us into counselors, nurses, judges, artists, musicians, and the like. Indeed, this global pandemic, which now grips the world, has spurred an even greater level of ingenuity among us. And I begin by applauding our teachers who over the past 5 months have risen to the occasion by tapping into talents never before explored. While you have searched in the depths, recesses of your souls to continue the process of education for our students by any means necessary, I truly, honestly applaud you. As we welcome approximately 200 of our new teachers to this noble profession for this upcoming 2020-2021 academic year, I encourage you to remain resolute in your call to inspire and bountifully impact a generation of 21st century citizens. The recent monster storm, Hurricane Dorian, and now this unwelcomed COVID-19 has resoundingly taught us that we are expected to expect the unexpected. That's life. And it is that life is not guaranteed. It doesn't have a guaranteed pattern, and that we are mandated to always be prepared to make adjustments personally and professionally. Ultimately, for some, this requires a major change in mindset, an adjustment in our posture. Byproducts of such adjustments equate to less complaints, less excuses, and more an increase in willingness to find viable solutions. And as the preamble to our Constitution states, we are preserving our freedom only by a guaranteed national commitment to self-discipline and industry. Accordingly, this conference was strategically designed to assist you in making the necessary transitions to maintain a high standard of quality education. Hence the theme, embracing a new reality with resilience and resourcefulness. With the Bahamas as a major signatory to the United Nations 2030 agenda, an equitable and quality education for all is mandated. Nationally, we are so guided by our own convictions to ensure equality and equity in our delivery of education. And teachers, you are at the center of this process. And as the lead facilitators of education, it is crucial that you and I know the difference between equal and equitable education. For instance, facilitating an equal education says that all students are taught the same information and the concepts. Equitable education, on the other hand, though requires that every student is given the tools according to their needs, it is specifically to that student that we are reaching, that particular student, in order for that student to retain new information and concepts. There's a big difference because this is a student-focused universe. What is best for the student? Additionally, my beloved teachers, it is imperative that we appreciate our roles in the development of the economic, social, and spiritual fabric of our nation. This fact dictates the need for inclusion in education, where teachers realize that every student, regardless of their socioeconomic status, their physical appearance, their speech patterns, and behavioral or cultural disposition, can be inspired to learn and succeed. The 2020 Global Education Monitoring Report deduced that a key barrier to inclusion in education is the lack of belief that it is possible and desirable. The report further stated that 1 in 3 teachers in 43 mostly upper middle income and high income countries in 2018 admitted that they did not adjust their teaching to students' cultural diversity. This, of course, is a major disenfranchisement for the affected students and a stagnation to their growth. The report also continued that inclusion cannot be realized unless teachers are agents of change with values, knowledge, and attitudes that permit every student to succeed. Inclusive teaching requires teachers to be open to diversity and aware that students learn by connecting classroom with life experiences. And so teachers, we must be agents of change. As educators in this modern and revolutionary era, paramount to your success is the concept of adaptability. This includes not only adapting to new technologies and teaching strategies, but rather adapting to or welcoming new personalities, realizing the importance and the benefits of working as a team, as a collaborative spirit that builds trust among colleagues, mitigates conflict, and unravels new levels of creativity that can break education barriers. How transformative is synergy among educators, all of whom are endowed with unique gifts divinely appointed. I tell you in the 1 Corinthians chapter 12, Apostle Paul reinforces this principle by using the analogy of the human body. He admonished all of us as professionals to acknowledge and accept the role of each team member in order to achieve optimum results. Paul laments that if the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? Whole body was an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts of the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. So in essence, teachers, how well we operate as a team determines how well our students perform. Another component in the pursuit of students' academic success is your willingness to empower them. There are numerous ways in which you can empower your pupils. One such way is to stimulate within them a vision. From preschool to the secondary level, you must inculcate in them the mindset that they have the power to steer their own destiny, constantly reminding them that without vision, people perish. So my beloved teachers, empowering our students also involves sharing authority. For instance, it provides opportunities for students themselves to find solutions to problems that may emerge during class, or allow them opportunities to lead academic sessions in which they may have a high level of proficiency. Such practices are in line with the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which explains that the goal is to empower the child by developing his or her skills, learning, and other capacities, human dignity, self-esteem, and self-confidence. Education in this context goes far beyond formal schooling to embrace the broad range of life experiences and learning processes which enables children, individually and collectively, to develop their personalities, talents, and abilities, and to live a full and satisfying life within society. On that role, teachers remain cognizant of the fact that the ultimate aim is to produce globally competitive individuals. And as outlined in the Shared Vision for Education 2030, the most efficient way to do this is to shape the ideal graduate by cultivating in each, from the preschool level and beyond, the traits representative of the 21st century graduate. And as students and teachers of this 21st century graduate, students should be encouraged to demonstrate integrity and ethical behavior at all times, to possess digital literacy, to appreciate the role of technology and innovation in national development, to display skills and competencies that reflect career and college readiness, to possess the ability to work effectively in teams. Remember, I talked about that a moment ago. To embrace his or her role as an environmental steward, and to think critically and be an innovative problem solver and show initiative, to demonstrate creativity and innovation, among many of the other traits. By now, we should have already embraced the fact that technology and education are inseparable. And based on this premise, teachers, I implore each of you to remain current in the latest technologies, for it is precisely the language of the students. And if it is not mastered by you, you have lost effective communication with them. A writer once expressed it this way: once a new technology rolls over you, you are part of the steamroller. You're not that part. You are in fact part of the road. In other words, do not get left behind, because learning is a lifelong process. So teachers, the task ahead remains great as we collectively work to increase the graduation rate from 59% last year to 85% by 2030. And although we have seen a steady increase over the last 3 years, there's still much room for improvement. And as the COVID-19 pandemic attempts to stifle that progress, we as educators, we have the power to push beyond this grip and to realize and to utilize the best in human and physical resources. My dear colleagues, the Right to Education document highlights what is referred to as the 4 A's, which should be present in education. These are availability, accessibility, acceptability, and adaptability. And as teachers, we are the direct link to all four. Your sessions over the course of this week will include focus on best practices to enhance the teaching and learning process across the three models, providing the psychosocial needs of students, strategies for working remotely, among many others that you will also be invited to participate in. And so as you engage in these sessions, I challenge you. I challenge you to present yourselves as vessels longing to be filled. It's my sincere hope that your wit and creativity is enlivened and that you make the necessary connections that will enrich your instruction and ultimately catapult your students, whether engaged virtually, face-to-face, to maximum success. Your influence far exceeds the constraints of a classroom. Your influence truly affects eternity. And may your very being infused with patience to understand, humility to empower, inventiveness to inspire, enthusiasm to motivate, integrity to instill values, and professionalism to train. Let this year be your best year yet. I want to thank you. Have a productive and meaningful conference. And now it is my great honor, distinct pleasure, and privilege to officially declare this conference open. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Minister Lloyd, for your timely address. We began the ceremony by invoking God's presence. We will now end in the same manner by meditating on a teacher's prayer, written by Joan Knowles Turnquest and performed by teachers.
Dear Lord, instill in every teacher a renewed spirit of commitment for the youth of our nation. Let us remain beacons of hope, offering protection to those you've entrusted in our care as we go through these perilous times.
Give us the strength to undergird our students with a foundational structure of fortitude as we mold them in evolving into the creative, empathetic, courageous, and fearless, patriotic individuals they were predestined to be.
May we continue to embody the standard of excellence as we too showcase a willingness to embrace positive change. Lord, as you grant us your wisdom, may we transfer that into a portal of dedication and encouragement.
Let our lives become a resounding reflection of you, thereby positively impacting our students to make a lasting difference in the Bahamas and indeed the world. Amen.
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 To everyone that took part in today's opening ceremony, I say a hearty thank you. You have all certainly eased the pressure, calmed the anxiety, and rallied up the excitement for this new reality we are about to embrace. I would like to challenge teachers across the nation to rethink, renew, and recharge as this new norm is upon us, and there is virtually no turning back now. Together, with resilience and resourcefulness, we will rise like a phoenix. I am Waynette Bethel Hannah, the National Teacher of the Year, and it was my pleasure to be your moderator this morning. Please stay right where you are as we get some information about this week and move right into our first plenary session, displaying a spirit of resilience, which will be delivered by Dr. Richard Adderley.